Can you say a little more about the Whirlpool campaign? It looked like a great, I saw it, and it looked like a great campaign, sort of how that came to be and how it's doing.
Sure. So Whirlpool just launched their Everyday Care campaign recently, and so it has a real sort of brand to product benefit from an emotional perspective. And so tonally we felt that Upworthy was a great fit for us. So we had a creative idea that we thought was really interesting and could work with Upworthy. So we actually worked with Upworthy, collaborated throughout the process to understand, exactly sort of what their audiences want, and then worked with them throughout the process to basically create a series of these really two sort of compelling emotional videos that we have distributed and we've had great success with. And I think one of the most interesting things is we're all a little bit scared when it comes to going past 30 to 60 seconds. I think that's just, it potentially limits your ability to use pre-roll, et cetera. But what we did was we said, okay, listen, if it is a longer form piece of content, will it perform well? I think the pieces of content range from 2.5 minutes to 3.5 minutes, and those pieces of content from a completion rate perspective performed exponentially well because we knew that that's what that audience was consuming, longer form content. Which
is really good because it's very lightly branded, and the Whirlpool brand only appears at the end, and maybe there are a few shots of someone doing laundry, but it's really about the emotions of the...
Yeah, and it's really about understanding sort of, okay, you have sort of your brand message or your product message. What is it that audience that you're reaching, what do they want from a utility perspective or a value perspective? Is it information? Is it entertainment, et cetera? And then finding that sort of mutual voice and creating a mutual piece of content that's beneficial both to the brand and the audience. And I think that's where the Upworthy partnership really flourished.
And people are forwarding it to each other.
Yeah, I mean the share rates are ridiculously high. We have great engagement rates. We have great completion rates, et cetera. And people are actually taking actions. They're actually going to our website to discover more about what we're doing with this Everyday Care campaign, which was sort of like icing on the cake.
Great. So if I can ask you one final big question.
Sure.
Where do we stand right now with video advertising as a whole, and where do you see the future?
I think so. We talk a lot about television versus digital, right, and sort of fighting for dollars, right? I think at a certain point hopefully in the near future, probably a little bit farther than that, it will sort of all be bought sort of the same way. You'll have, with the rise of sort of connected TVs, with obviously full episode players coming into the digital space, you have a lot of cross-pollination. And at some point, those things, you'll be able to buy them at scale. You'll be able to dive deeper, be more engaged, et cetera. We'll move a little bit away from sort of this 15-30 mentality into a place where you can really sort of integrate across TV and online. And sort of, I don't think that that's a 6-month thing or maybe even a year thing, but I think hopefully in the coming years that will continue to sort of cross-pollinate and be easier to sort of work together between TV and digital.
Are the obstacles to that right now technological or political or both?
I think they're both. I think one of the most interesting things that we see is that we sit on sort of these pools of data, right? Like a lot of brands are starting their own sort of data pools, so they have these huge data collections. And I think the interesting thing is that the technology hasn't caught up quite yet to the amount of data that we have. Mm-hmm. I think it's the same issue when it comes to television and online. Like we have a lot of understanding of who these audiences are, but the technology for both of those spaces hasn't caught up yet. And I'm hoping with the exponential rise of sort of technology that that sort of cross-pollination will happen and we'll be able to sort of serve that in the right way with all the data that we've collected.
One would hope.
Yeah, one would hope.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Mark, so much for your comments.
Cool, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.